Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. Combat is an American television drama series that originally aired on ABC. There were few series in the 1960s that delivered more action and excitement than this World War II drama. It ran from 1962 to 1967, capturing the heroes and the sacrifice of World War II with gripping realism and a cinematic production. The series starred Rick Jason as Second Lieutenant Gil Handley and Vic Morrow as Sergeant Chip Saunders. Show creator Robert Perosh had an early career in film that was defined mainly by comedy movies. In 1961, he approached production companies in Hollywood for the idea of a television series. He proposed an hour-long drama that would be called Men in Combat, and it would follow a small squad of enlisted men from their arrival to mainland Europe on D-Day to the liberation of Paris. ABC was really intrigued with the idea, and they ordered a pilot for the series. That pilot was called A Day in June, and it was shot over 6 days in December of 1961. The series leads of Rick Jason and Vic Morrow were really unimpressed by the original pilot that was written, and Morrow pondered quitting the show. He feared that the poor quality of that pilot might damage his career. Between the completion of the pilot and the greenlighting for a full season, ABC made several changes to it, including dropping some characters and altering others. They also dismissed Perosh and brought in Robert Blees to be the series producer. The famous director Robert Altman was hired to direct and assigned to every episode in the first season. By April of 1962, ABC was pleased with everything, and they announced that they had picked the series up, and it was now called Combat, and was scheduled into their fall primetime schedule. The network initially committed to a 30-episode season. Rick Jason served in the Army Air Corps in World War II. He was a New York native that was no stranger to combat, serving from 1943 to 1945. Due to a really strange incident with his captain, Jason was charged with striking an officer and briefly ended up in a psych ward. After he received an honorable discharge, he attended the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, all this on the GI Bill. It was there that the actor born Richard Jacobson took the name Rick Jason. Vic Morrow went on strike at the start of the second season because he didn't like the dressing rooms that they were given to use. Jason and Morrow had it rough behind the scenes of this series. Filming was tough, and then they were irritated so badly by the dilapidated dressing rooms that it began to wear on them. They didn't even have dressing rooms on the outdoor sets. They just had to use chairs. Once Vic Morrow went on strike at the beginning of the second year, things got much better. There were quite a few major actors and athletes that made special appearances on the show. It featured manly men like Lee Marvin, James Coburn, and also gave exposure to rising talents such as James Caan, Charles Bronson, Eddie Albert, Telly Savalas, John Cassavetes, and Robert Duvall. Each episode of the series had a budget of around $150,000. That's roughly a little over $1 million in today's cash. Several sources state that Rick Jason was to carry a Thompson machine gun. After 2 days of filming, Jason complained about the weight of that machine gun, and he switched to a lighter M1 carbine and carried it through the rest of the series. Vic Morrow was then given that Thompson to carry, but after 2 weeks, he also complained about its weight. A lighter replica Thompson was made out of wood and was carried by Morrow until it was time for a firefight, at which time he would switch back to the real Thompson. Beginning with Vic Morrow, and as the series progressed, the principal cast members were fitted with expensive, custom-made fiberglass prop helmets to replace the heavier steel ones which they had used at the beginning of the series. The distinctive helmet that Sergeant Saunders wore in the series was covered with a piece of nylon cut from a U.S. paratrooper's camouflaged T-5 main parachute canopy. Now, the comedian and actor Charlie Callis was a big fan of the series, and he asked Rick Jason if he could have the M1 carbine that Lieutenant Handley, his character, carried on the show after the series ended. Jason had the gun barrel plugged and gave it to Callis, who mounted it over the bar in his house. Since Callis's passing, the whereabouts of that weapon are completely unknown. Vic Morrow, who is father to actress Jennifer Jason Leigh, tragically passed away while filming the Time Out segment of Twilight Zone, the movie. The helicopter crash that killed him also killed 2 child actors at the same time. Rick Jason was a fascinating character. He enjoyed so many things in life: playing guitar, painting, sculpting, collecting wines, flying, hunting, photography, and he also bred tropical fish. He wrote a book that described him growing up in New York during the Great Depression, and he shared behind-the-scenes stories of his film and TV career. But 1 week after he attended the October 16th, 2000 combat cast reunion, he ended up dying from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He left no note, and authorities just said that he had been despondent over unspecified personal matters. He was then cremated and interred at Hollywood Forever Cemetery in L.A. Take a look back at this action-packed series from the early 60s. It's always a memory jogger. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.